Okay, so let's get to the second stage here, which is let's talk specifically. Basically we've kind of given first base in terms of what circling is, and maybe even like third base. And let's move specifically to the practice that we're calling developmental circling. And developmental circling has a certain structure, which I do want to describe. But first, how do you see, David, as what the distinction is between traditional circling and developmental circling? And actually, let me answer that for myself. Is that there is more of a focus on development, and there is more of a focus about our work in the world and bringing ourselves more fully into the world, as opposed to having a good time in the circle, for instance. All right. So a developmental circle does not end when the circle ends. The development just actually begins, because it's super cool to be fully ourselves in the circle and to be acknowledged for that. Super cool. Okay. Don't get me wrong. But what's even more cool is to be yourself in the world and be acknowledged for that and have an impact on people that don't necessarily share this frame, or basically possibly completely clueless about the sort of the joy and the power and the fulfillment that they could have just by showing up as themselves. No masks, fully vulnerable, fully present, just like engaging the world in heart space, essentially, is what it's about. So this is one of the things that I miss in circling, or traditional circling, is sort of like this concept. Okay, guys, we're not here just to have a good experience. We're not here just to connect. Like, we're here really to make something of our lives. And I think that explicit focus on development, not that focus is absent in the traditional schools. That focus is always present. But there's a much more explicit focus in developmental circling of, what are we going to, how are we going to live our lives outside of the circle? How are we going to impact? How are we going to love? Right? Do you have anything to add to that in terms of the?
Yeah, there's a couple of things come up that are beautifully, I had not actually seen from this perspective before. One thing that I would say is the sense that to the extent that circling feels distinct from my life, I'm missing something, right? There is a way that, you're right, coming into the circling practice, it can feel very distinct from, it's like, okay, this is, I'm kind of leaving my life out there, outside, and coming in here and exquisitely giving attention to something else. But like, as you said, if I'm doing that, then I really have a difficult time bringing this self into the world. If those are distinct, they're not really merged. I would say the thing that comes to mind in looking at that is something like an initial naive perception that being is somehow a passive activity. Circling is exquisitely the art of being, I think. And being is not, that sense of presence can often occur as silent wonder, which is just allowing something to happen, which can look passive. And that actually is not the case. It's a very dynamic, in the moment being. And what developmental circling does is actually include my life in this moment, right? Rather than let me set my life aside so that I can have a moment of peace. It's no, I don't want to do this in spite of my life. I want to do this in concert with my life, right? This is an exquisite being in the midst of my whole life, right. Not as a vacation from my life.
Right. I love that. And what I'm hearing is your goal would be that the distinction between being in a circle and being in the world would just gradually diminish and ultimately vanish, right?
Right.
Is that a beautiful dream or what?
Yeah.
I'm enrolled. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think really the benefit of for me, the purpose of any kind of circle, it's a training ground. It's like, we're here to learn to be fully present through this shared contract we have to be honest and to challenge each other when we notice that we're not present or when we feel the other is not present. And we have implicit permission to take more risks because, and we will typically, not always, but typically take advantage of that opportunity to take more risks because we know we're not going to get slammed or lose our jobs or get arrested for making mistakes, right? Which is that, sad to say, but in the world, this is going to happen. Or lose our best friend